equal justice under law. It's a bedrock principle of our American democracy. But every day in the nation's capital, thousands of people are denied equal access to justice, simply because they cannot afford a lawyer. For more than 40 years, the DC Bar Pro Bono Center has mobilized volunteer lawyers to deliver legal information, advice, and representation where and when it's needed most. Together, we help people who have been left out to understand the law, assert their rights, and seek justice in court. In neighborhoods that have been left behind, we strengthen nonprofit organizations and small businesses that are vital to the economic life of their communities. We stand with people to protect and preserve what matters most: their families, their homes, their futures. Equal access to justice transforms lives. Join us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Becky Troth, Executive Director of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center. On behalf of our Board of Directors, our Pro Bono Committee, our staff, and especially our clients, thank you for joining us this evening. The President's Reception is a 27-year tradition that allows us to thank our generous donors and our wonderful volunteers who devote thousands of hours to pro bono service. Your contributions of time, treasure, and talent have made the Pro Bono Center the largest provider of pro bono legal services in the district. Each year, with your help, we serve more than 20,000 individuals, nonprofits, and small businesses unable to afford a lawyer. Although we can't gather in person this year, I raise my glass to salute all of you who make this work possible. I also want to recognize specifically our talented and dedicated staff who adapted virtually overnight to remote operations, overcoming countless obstacles to continue serving our clients during the pandemic. And now it's my honor to introduce our very dear friend and outgoing DC Bar President, Susie Hoffman. I have two selfish criteria for what makes a good DC Bar President. One is a deep understanding of our need for pro bono volunteers, and two is a passion for inspiring others to support legal services. Susie exceeded our most extravagant hopes on both grounds. Not only has Susie been a terrific champion of our work, but she has led by example, volunteering regularly for our clinics and representing her own pro bono client, who you'll hear from shortly. Susie, we cannot thank you enough for all you have done for the Pro Bono Center. Now, please welcome virtually Susie Hoffman.
Thank you, Becky. Pro bono has been the focus of my legal career for more than 30 years. So when I took the helm of the DC Bar in June 2019, my primary initiative was to champion pro bono work. Naturally, my heart was with the Pro Bono Center. It's been a rewarding year and also a challenging one. I'm proud of what the Pro Bono Center has accomplished, particularly in the midst of the pandemic. And I'm proud of all of you, our generous supporters who make the Pro Bono Center's essential work possible. Despite the uncertain economy and widespread concerns about the future, you renewed your commitment to serving our neighbors. I'm pleased to announce that together you have contributed almost $800,000 to help the Pro Bono Center continue serving the community. Thank you for your stalwart support in these tough times. I want to especially recognize Kellogg, Hansen, Todd, Figel, and Frederick for pulling out all the stops to raise $145,000 to honor Jeff Klineberg. 100% of Kellogg Hansen partners contributed. This is a testament to their esteem for their colleague, but also their commitment to serving people who cannot afford a lawyer. The Pro Bono Center leverages your contributions through the power of volunteer attorneys. Because most legal services are provided in person, when the pandemic hit, the staff had to quickly re-envision how to serve clients remotely and in the short term without volunteers. Tonight, you'll hear from the Pro Bono Center staff about how they adapted to providing services when the city, government agencies, and the courts shut down to stop the spread of the coronavirus. You'll also hear from a Pro Bono Center client who's very special to me because my firm represented her in her family law case. Please join me in watching a short video featuring 3 Pro Bono Center lawyers and my client who just learned how to film themselves from home. Enjoy.
When the pandemic hit, nobody knew what was to come, how long it would last, or what the long-term effects would be. Immediately, we saw that there was a huge impact on small businesses, so we really had to hit the ground running. We quickly converted our monthly walk-in small business clinic to a weekly virtual format, so small business owners could meet one-on-one with volunteer lawyers. With our partners, we created webinars for small businesses and nonprofits to help them understand financial assistance programs, unemployment insurance, and paid leave. Now, we're helping organizations renegotiate commercial leases, understand their contracts, and reopen safely. The Pro Bono Center is the only free legal aid service for small businesses in the region, and so far, we've helped more than 1,000 organizations figure out their next steps. That's not just information, that's power. What does it mean to a community to keep their small businesses open? I think it means there's hope.
When we found out Superior Court was closing, we had to create a way to serve our clients remotely. We set up a dedicated landlord and tenant resource center phone line. As more and more calls came in, we enlisted our volunteers and expanded services to include our partner organizations. Now, every day, people who need help can reach an attorney who specializes in landlord and tenant law. Because most callers, they want to know if their housing will be secure through the pandemic. Even though evictions have been on hold, not everyone knows that they are protected. Some callers were facing financial difficulties before COVID-19, but we've also heard from tenants who lost their jobs because of the pandemic. We want tenants to know that even if they can't pay their rent, they likely have defenses. They have a right to demand that their housing is safe and habitable. If it is not, we will file a motion or represent them in a remote hearing. I'm proud that in 3 months, the Pro Bono Center's housing team has handled almost 500 calls because everyone should have safe, affordable housing.
Before the pandemic, the Pro Bono Center was preparing to launch the new Family Law Assistance Network with the DC Affordable Law Firm and the Legal Aid Society. Our goal was to provide free, limited scope services to low-income, pro se family law litigants on site at DC Superior Court every day. But then the pandemic hit and the court closed. This created an acute crisis for those facing urgent family law issues and presented new challenges to accessing court services. We immediately adapted to the new reality and began staffing a hotline, accepting referrals from the court, helping with same-day and emergency needs, and handling remote court hearings. For parents who can't afford a lawyer and are trying to protect their children, being able to pick up the phone and get free legal advice makes a huge difference. And then to have a lawyer who can immediately draft a pleading or file an emergency motion or represent them in court, that's a game changer. The need for our family law services has only been compounded by the impacts of COVID-19. That's why I'm so grateful that in just 3 months, we have been able to serve over 200 families in the district.
When my daughter Anissa was born, her father and I were no longer together. I thought we could come to a custody agreement without having to involve the courts, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I was feeling scared that I was going to lose custody of Anissa, but no lawyer would help because no case had been filed yet. But I wanted to be proactive, so I went to the Saturday Advice and Referral Clinic. That day, I met with Susie, a volunteer lawyer, and we worked out a game plan for what to do if I had to go into court. As soon as I walked out of the clinic, I immediately felt better. I felt like someone finally heard me. Later, Susie and Jason, an associate at her firm, offered to represent me. Having my lawyers by my side definitely helped my confidence going into court. With their help, we came to an agreement that was fair to both Anissa's dad and me. This opportunity has provided my family a sense of stability I did not have before. I'm grateful that these services were available for those like me who could not afford representation otherwise. The Pro Bono Center is truly making a wonderful impact in our community.
Wasn't that inspiring? Now, I have the pleasure of introducing the new president of the DC Bar, Geoffrey Klineberg. I can think of no better person to lead the bar at this critical time. Jeff has really been leading the bar in some capacity for nearly 20 years. First as a member and later chair of the bar's Legal Ethics Committee, and most recently as chair of the Global Legal Task Force. Jeff has long been committed to access to justice and pro bono service. For the past 2 years, he has been serving on the appellate working group of the Pro Bono Task Force and has volunteered at the Saturday Clinic, along with other pro bono efforts. I have deeply appreciated Jeff's leadership during the past year. He has dealt with challenging issues with composure, diplomacy, and a sensitivity that are remarkable. I have appreciated his support, particularly during the last few months as we navigate the public health crisis and its implications for the bar and the Pro Bono Center. In addition to his extensive experience with the bar, Jeff will bring invaluable qualities to his role as president: wisdom, compassion, and commitment. Please welcome new DC Bar President Geoffrey Klineberg.
Thank you for that warm welcome and introduction, Susie. It's been a great pleasure to work with you this past year, and I am looking forward to your wise counsel during the year ahead. I want to thank the President's Reception Development Committee, particularly my co-chairs, past President Darrell Motley and my partner and good friend David Frederick, for their leadership. The Pro Bono Center will face unprecedented demand for its services in the coming months and years. The energy that all of you devoted to this effort will ensure that thousands of our neighbors get the legal help they need. I also want to thank my colleagues at Kellogg Hansen for contributing so generously. I am overwhelmed by the response and truly humbled by your support. The unprecedented combination of the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting economic meltdown presents an enormous challenge for the provision of legal services to the poor in our city. As we learned during the last recession, people living in poverty suffer the most during an economic downturn. We know the result this time will be fewer jobs and more evictions. We have an extraordinary pro bono culture in the DC Bar, and we will need to expand it even further in the months ahead. I am acutely aware that the current crisis has placed enormous pressures on many lawyers in this city, and that seeking from you all an even greater commitment to pro bono services is a big ask. But people with the fewest resources to weather this recession are encountering arbitrary obstacles when seeking custody of a child, disability benefits to meet their most basic needs, or safe, habitable housing. Having a lawyer can make all the difference. Together, we can meet the need for pro bono help with the amazing capacity and generosity of our DC Bar community. Thank you for joining us tonight and for your continuing support for the DC Bar Pro Bono Center. I hope you will stay safe and stay tuned for the DC Bar's celebration of leadership, which will begin in just a few minutes. Thank you.
What does it take to capture every lead? Whether or not you have a dedicated staff of intake specialists, there will be inevitable illnesses, turnover, departmental overflows, or even minimally trained intake specialists that could slow your response times, causing callers to give up and move on to the next firm. Don't let prospective clients get away. Let Alert Communications help. Alert Communications is a legal services call center, ensuring you always capture the leads you need, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, after hours, on weekends, and on holidays. Alert Communications is ready to partner with you, offering customized intakes, contract services, and the ability to handle your overflow calls in English and Spanish, all from our US-based call center. Our incredibly low call abandon rate, immediate responses to web, text, and chat inquiries, and our unique tracking and follow-up system produces optimum conversion rates. And our empathetic intake specialists pave the way to take your leads from initial contact through signed contract. Capture every lead and maximize your ROI by adding Alert Communications as an extension of your law firm.
At the DC Bar, we are driven by new ideas and technology. As the largest unified bar in the United States with more than 110,000 members, we continue to strive for excellence with service, integrity, and leadership for our members, our students, and our community. In upholding these standards, we are improving your online experience with a new design for our website. Please join us online at www.dcbar.org. The new DC Bar website simplifies how the content is organized, improves the navigation, and brings relevant information to your fingertips. Whether you access dcbar.org using a laptop, desktop, phone, or tablet, you will have the same ease of use and consistency because our new website is designed to work elegantly with all screens, from desktops to mobile devices. The content is strategically organized in 3 unique sections to ensure that lawyers, students, and members of the public can quickly and effectively find what they need. We understand that new can sometimes feel confusing. For this reason, we intentionally designed the new website to feel familiar and welcoming to our long-standing users who may be accustomed to the previous dcbar.org site. Our goal was to enhance and streamline the user experience while remaining true to our trusted mission and values. Improving on the previous blog-style site where visitors were faced with long paragraphs of text and non-categorized results, we've given the content a more intuitive organization, using visual clues and graphic elements. We also identified the pages that are most frequently visited and made them accessible to our users with fewer clicks by either linking them directly from the home page or from the navigational bar. The new navigational toolbar has pull-down subcategories that will take you to your desired landing page with a consistent click-through experience. Our new search interface allows you to discover articles, documents, and news even faster, saving time and improving results. The search results can be narrowed further by choosing the website itself, Washington Lawyer, News, or the Pro Bono Center pages as the source of the information. The updated frequently asked questions are categorized and searchable and address your most relevant concerns. If you require further assistance, our contact page is designed to connect you easily with the right DC Bar staff member who will be able to address your questions. A priority of the new DC Bar strategic plan is to enhance member value by prioritizing ease of user experience and improving online and remote access to DC Bar programs and services. Especially now, when we are primarily engaging with our members online, this new website helps the bar meet that important goal. Please visit the DC Bar's new website at dcbar.org.
Good evening and welcome to the 2020 DC Bar Celebration of Leadership. This year we are broadcasting live from the DC Bar studio. My name is Greg Williams and I will serve as your host this evening. Now, our program tonight is entirely virtual. COVID-19 and the subsequent pandemic has upended the lives of our lawyers and the community we serve. Now, we hope you are home safe, taking care of yourselves and your loved ones. While this global health crisis has been devastating and challenging, it also has allowed the legal community to demonstrate remarkable levels of creativity, courage, and resilience in performing everyday tasks. Against this backdrop, we present our virtual 2020 DC Bar Celebration of Leadership. Now, as you can see, we have taken extra care to ensure the safety of our presenters, winners, and our staff. Some will appear in our studio, while others will join us directly from their homes. The evening will feature live speeches, interactive polls, a tribute to our newly elected officers, the presentation of awards to outstanding bar members, and, of course, the swearing in and passing of the gavel to our new president, Geoffrey Klineberg. Now, before we get started, let's point out a few features to help you better navigate this evening. First, if you haven't already done so, you can access the 2019 annual meetings minutes and 2019-2020 annual report by scrolling down this video to the agenda box and clicking the View Meeting Materials link. Using the chat box directly below tells us from where you are watching. Now, we have more than 110,000 DC Bar members worldwide. Let's practice proper etiquette. Please be mindful of the language you use in the chat box. Take note of the polling box to the right of this video. We want to interact with you during our business meeting. Please note that tonight's celebration has made possible with support from the following sponsors. While video conferencing has become our new normal, this evening's celebration is different. There's nothing to mute. You don't need to change or blur your background. Just sit back and enjoy this one-hour celebration of the bar's accomplishments and those of its incredible volunteers and members from the past year. From our DC Bar headquarters to your home, enjoy the celebration. Now, let's get started. Please welcome DC Bar President 2019-2020, Susan M. Hoffman.
Good evening. I'm Susie Hoffman, President of the DC Bar. Welcome to the 2020 DC Bar Celebration of Leadership. Thank you for tuning in as we celebrate the DC legal community. It's nice for so many friends and colleagues to join us virtually this evening. We hope you will enjoy the evening as we celebrate the accomplishments of the past year. As we get started, I would like to extend a special welcome to all members of the judiciary who are taking part in this evening's celebration, and especially Chief Judge Anna Blackburn Rigsby of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, Chief Judge Robert Morin of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, Chief Judge Sri Srinivasan of the United States Court of Appeals, District of Columbia Circuit, Chief Judge Burl Howell of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, and Judge Pamela Harris of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. And a special congratulations tonight to Judge Anita Josie Herring, who after many years of distinguished service on the court, was selected only last week to serve as the new Chief Judge of the Superior Court when Chief Judge Morin retires this fall. Well done and congratulations. Thank you all for your service to our country. To our Board of Governors members who are in attendance tonight, to our CEO Bob Spagnoletti and the entire staff of the DC Bar, to Becky Troth and the entire staff of the DC Bar Pro Bono Center, thank you for your dedication and contributions throughout the year. To the host committee, thank you for supporting the important work of the 2020 DC Bar recipients. Each year, our host committee helps us celebrate the best and brightest of the legal community. This year, as we have pivoted to a virtual program, your support and efforts have meant that much more. Thank you. To all past presidents of the DC Bar, thank you for leading our bar to be the best among bars. I look forward to joining your ranks at the end of this evening. We have three brief items of business. First is the approval of the minutes of our 2019 business meeting, which are available for download. I see from our chat room that we have a motion and a second. Active members of the DC Bar, please use the polling box to the right of the screen to approve the minutes. All in favor, please vote now. Thank you. Minutes have been approved. Next is the review and approval of the bar's financial report, which is in our annual report, also among the materials you have downloaded for this evening. I see from the chat room we have a motion and a second. Active members of the DC Bar, please use the polling box to the right of the screen to approve the financial report. All in favor, please vote now. Thank you. Report has been approved. Third, I am delighted to introduce the newly elected members of our leadership team. First, our new ABA House of Delegates members, Lori Masters, Laura Pazesky, and Lucy Thompson. Next, our newly elected Board of Governors members, Katie Bertram, Natalie Koss, Megan Lakini, Ramya Ravindran, Courtney Weiner. Secretary Diane Seltzer-Torres, and new Treasurer Sean Snyder. And finally, but certainly not least, our new President-elect, Chad Sarchio. Congratulations, everyone. And now, I want to share with you a few closing remarks. It has been a great privilege, honor, and joy to serve as your president and to work with leaders like Chief Judge Anna Blackburn-Rigsby, Chief Judge Robert Morin, Bar CEO Bob Spagnoletti, and of course, our President-elect Jeff Klineberg, who we celebrate this evening. I am grateful to them, to my friends and colleagues at C&M for their support and for making this a memorable year. This year has afforded me many opportunities. Among them, the chance to get to know the multifaceted and dedicated members of our bar, ranging from our vibrant voluntary bars to our newest law school community. And this has convinced me we are not just the largest integrated bar in the country, we are the best. Tonight, we also celebrate attorneys who have dedicated their careers to public service and to increasing access to justice. Doug, Stephanie, and my dear friend Shelley, my heartfelt congratulations to each of you. You truly exemplify the best and brightest lights of our profession. I am touched to share this evening with you. It has indeed been a rewarding and also a challenging year. On March 11th, when Mayor Bowser declared a public health emergency, I thought that my bar year might come to a screeching halt and that my initiatives had come to a standstill, but not for long. The members of our bar and the DC bar staff demonstrated resilience and creativity in continuing the work and programs for the bar. They worked with our communities to revamp CLE and other programs to a virtual format, increase counseling and other mental health supports to our members, and most significantly, retooled our pro bono efforts to meet the needs of our low-income neighbors at a social distance. The John Payton Leadership Academy, scheduled to begin on March 20th, transitioned to virtual sessions throughout the pandemic with a plan for in-person sessions this fall. Under the leadership of past President Tim Webster, the Strategic Planning Committee kept to an ambitious schedule of meetings throughout the spring, making adjustments to the plan in light of the pandemic. I am pleased to share that the strategic plan to guide our bar for the next 5 years was adopted at the June board meeting. I owe a great debt of gratitude to the bar members and staff who joined in committee efforts while coping with the daily pandemic-related challenges. Excuse me. During this past year, we have begun to commemorate the anniversary of the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote, and to highlight the relevance of this milestone for us today in terms of voting rights and gender equity. The events of the last several months highlight other particularly relevant lessons from the battle for the 19th Amendment about the need for tenacity, creativity, and resilience to weather the pandemic and to achieve major societal change. Between 1878, when the amendment was first introduced in Congress, and August 18, 1920, when it was ratified, champions of voting rights for women worked tirelessly and sustained constant disappointments and losses. Each time, they regrouped and often pursued new strategies, whether it be challenging male-only voting laws in the courts or conducting parades, demonstrations, and hunger strikes. And after 72 years, they finally prevailed. We are facing major challenges in the year ahead from the impact of the pandemic on our profession, on our economy, and on our personal lives, and from the imperative to address the racial inequity in our justice system and in our society overall. As lawyers, we play a critical role in assuring that our justice system, including law enforcement, is fair and equitable. Each of us has a responsibility to work towards that end. We will continue to experience disappointments and losses as we tackle difficult conversations and strategies. But we must remember the lessons of the suffragists and recommit, regroup, and reinvent. The pandemic will be with us for longer than we had hoped, and will have repercussions beyond what we might predict. What we do know is that increasing numbers of individuals will inevitably drop below the poverty line, and that the need for representation for the low-income community will skyrocket. Already the media has published dire predictions for a tsunami of evictions once moratorium are lifted. Similarly, domestic violence advocates have reported a dramatic increase in the incidence of violence in the home. And so, I will close my year where I started, with a plea for us to recommit to closing the access to justice gap, to stand up for our low-income neighbors by taking a pro bono case, to show the same tenacity and creativity of the suffragists in developing strategies and solutions to meet this need, and to personally step up to do so. To paraphrase suffragist Crystal Eastman, now we must begin. Thank you.
And thank you, Susie. And thank you for your leadership as DC Bar President during one of the most challenging years in the bar's history. And now I am excited to get started with our award winners. This year's award honorees are spirited, powerful, and passionate about the legal communities they serve. They have worked tirelessly to improve the profession and the greater legal community through public service, volunteer work to improve access to justice, and development of new projects and initiatives. Please watch as we pay tribute to the first group of 2020 DC Bar honorees, the Frederick B. Abramson Award honoring the Bar Project of the Year, the Voluntary Bar Association of the Year Award, and the Community of the Year Award.
The District of Columbia Bar presents the winners of its 2020 annual awards, honoring those who have worked tirelessly to improve the profession and the greater legal community through public service, volunteer work to improve access to justice, and development of new projects and initiatives. The Frederick B. Abramson Award recognizes a DC Bar committee or project that through innovation, initiative, or unusual dedication has resulted in a significant benefit to the DC Bar and its individual members. The award is named for Frederick B. Abramson, a DC legal legend who served as bar president from 1985 to 1986. For years, Fred was a well-known mentor and role model to many attorneys and future judges, especially in the African American community, where he inspired countless others to follow in his footsteps. The 2020 Frederick B. Abramson Award goes to the DC Bar Law Student Community's Let's Brief It podcast. In only its second year, members of the law student community, realizing the potential of podcasts to reach other law students and attorneys, launched Let's Brief It, a series of episodes intended to share meaningful and timely information on various topics. For each episode, law students conduct research and then interview attorneys about their practice areas. The podcast has provided an additional channel through which law students can learn from experienced practitioners, as well as connect on a more personal level. The listener base has been strongest locally, but it stretches across the United States and internationally.
Hearing from actual practitioners gives law students the chance to get a true sense of what real practice is like, because in the classroom, we're learning the law by reading cases, but we also need to see how that applies in real life.
This podcast demonstrated that networking really in its purest form is an organic form of relationship building. These relationships have been built, and that was a very meaningful part of the process.
Congratulations to the law student community. The Voluntary Bar Association of the Year Award recognizes the DC chapter of a voluntary bar association that provides exemplary service to its members, the legal profession, or the District of Columbia community through programming, community outreach, special initiatives, or professional activities. The 2020 Voluntary Bar Association of the Year Award goes to the South Asian Bar Association of Washington, D.C. SABA DC organized and co-sponsored more than 50 events in 2019, serving its members and the broader D.C. community with timely, educational, and thought-provoking programming. SABA DC provided many opportunities for career development through events featuring big law managing partners, current and former U.S. Supreme Court clerks, and Facebook Vice President and Deputy General Counsel Paul Grewal. The association also has a long tradition of public service, continuing its Public Interest Fellowship Program, Mentorship Program, and support of the Robert E. Wan Judicial Clerkship and Internship Conference. SABA DC also created the Community Response Network, a roster of South Asian attorneys willing to help community members impacted by domestic violence. And it co-sponsored 2 naturalization drives and citizenship application workshops.
I would like to especially thank the other bar associations who have worked with us throughout the years, co-sponsored with us and supported us. We appreciate the support. I mean, I think we all get further together. With your support, we were able to win this award. So thank you for that.
And I think our strength in numbers certainly allows us to get more done in terms of advancing our goals and to ensure that diverse attorneys feel supported.
Congratulations to the South Asian Bar Association of Washington, D.C. The Community of the Year Award honors the D.C. bar community that best exemplifies in its area of practice professional service to its members and to the citizens of the District of Columbia through its educational programs, professional activities, involvement in current issues and legislation, and member communications. The 2020 Community of the Year Award goes to the DC Bar International Law Community for its wide array of activities and events addressing topics such as international trade, dispute resolution, criminal law, global communication, and investment. Some highlights include a July 2019 event discussing the U.S. legal framework addressing economic espionage and trade secrets theft, with panelists from multiple divisions of the U.S. Department of Justice. A January 2020 program, Making Sense of Recent Developments in U.S.-China Relations. And a March 2020 event on the new U.S. Treasury Department regulations implementing the Foreign Investment Risk Review Modernization Act. Additionally, the international law community's networking receptions focused on the 50th anniversary of the Vienna Convention, the law of treaties, and immigration regulations. In addition to these well-attended and substantive events, the community provided opportunities for law students through its ILC Fellows program and by hosting numerous networking and informational sessions on careers in international law.
We want to educate people about why the international law community may have something of value to offer you, even if it's not your practice area, just so you have a better understanding of the world around you.
We need each other, as we are bound to learn from one another, as we are in a constant process of educating ourselves and learning from each other in the field of international law.
Congratulations to the international law community. Congratulations to the 2020 DC Bar Annual Award winners.
As you can see, our members are doing incredible things, even during these challenging times. And speaking of incredible things, we will now turn our focus to those members who have demonstrated particular selflessness and commitment to others as we honor the Pro Bono Law Firm of the Year and the Laura N. Rinaldi Pro Bono Lawyer of the Year.
The award for Pro Bono Law Firm of the Year recognizes a law firm for its excellence, achievement, and commitment to providing legal services to the district's low-income or disadvantaged individuals or organizations serving such individuals. The 2020 winner of the Pro Bono Law Firm of the Year is Fried, Frank, Harris, Shriver, and Jacobson. For many years, Fried Frank has demonstrated a sustained commitment to pro bono service and improving the lives of low-income residents in the district. In 2019, the firm's lawyers donated nearly 2,900 hours of pro bono service on behalf of DC residents. As the composition of the firm's DC office gradually changed to include more non-litigators, Fried Frank adapted by increasing pro bono opportunities for transactional lawyers. The firm entered into an innovative collaboration with Zedek DC, in which 34 firm attorneys, including 11 partners, represented residents in debt collection and other consumer protection matters.
Fried Frank recognizes pro bono and public service as the professional obligation of every lawyer. Our motivation is not what we gain, but what we give.
There are people who have never had someone advocate for them. And that's what I think I'm so proud of this partnership that we have with Zedek is it's giving us the opportunity to take on that role in a meaningful way for our neighbors in the District of Columbia.
The firm also expanded its participation in the DC Bar Pro Bono Center's nonprofit and small business legal assistance programs and continued its support of the center's advice and referral clinic and landlord-tenant resource center. Congratulations to Fried, Frank, Harris, Shriver, and Jacobson. The Laura N. Rinaldi Pro Bono Lawyer of the Year sets a standard of excellence, achievement, and commitment to providing legal services to the district's low-income or otherwise disadvantaged individuals or the organizations that serve them. The award is named in memory of Laura, a public interest lawyer who championed the special education rights of the district's youth as both a special education clinical professor at the University of the District of Columbia David A. Clark School of Law and a managing attorney for the DC Bar's Pro Bono Center. The 2020 winner of the Laura N. Rinaldi Pro Bono Lawyer of the Year Award is Stephanie Hales of Sidley, Austin. A partner in Sidley's healthcare and government strategies groups, Stephanie devoted 562 hours to pro bono work in 2019. Stephanie has received praise for her long-term dedication to serving low-income district residents, including her work for Whitman Walker Health, leading a detailed review of DC criminal laws and policies affecting commercial sex workers and consenting adults. Stephanie also is being recognized for her policy work, promoting the accessibility and affordability of medicines and care critical to the district's autoimmune residents. Her advocacy that led to groundbreaking expanded Medicaid coverage of cochlear implants, and her work on a housing conditions case for a district family subjected to deplorable housing code violations. In addition to her pro bono work, Stephanie has spent hundreds of hours volunteering on the boards of 3 local nonprofits that serve DC's most vulnerable residents.
Pro bono work facilitates connections and provides ways for the legal community to work together and with our neighbors to advocate for justice and for equality, to give voice to people's stories and people's needs, and to advance key goals and core values that we all share. It's a wonderful community to be a part of and a true honor to collaborate with others to advocate for what I feel so passionately about.
Congratulations to Stephanie Hales of Sidley, Austin. Congratulations to the 2020 DC Bar Annual Award winners.
And now we will continue to this evening's principal honors, the Beatrice Rosenberg Award and the Justice Thurgood Marshall Award. One of our honorees has served our government proudly. The other is an academic pushing for civil liberties. Both are remarkable individuals with storied careers. This evening, we recognize 2 of the bar's finest.
The Beatrice B. Rosenberg Award recognizes a DC bar member nominated by their peers whose career contributions to the government exemplify the highest order of public service. The award was established by the bar in honor of late DC bar member Beatrice B. Rosenberg, who dedicated 35 years of her career to government service and performed with distinction at the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. She also served as a member of the Board on Professional Responsibility of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. The 2020 winner of the Beatrice Rosenberg Award for Excellence in Government Service is Douglas N. Leder, General Counsel of the U.S. House of Representatives and former Director of the Department of Justice's Civil Division Appellate Staff. During his 40-year career with the Justice Department, Douglas argued more than 200 cases in the courts of appeals and the U.S. Supreme Court, establishing himself as one of the premier appellate litigators in the country. His arguments have been responsible for setting precedent in cases concerning fundamental legal questions relating to the constitutional separation of powers, national security, foreign affairs, constitutional takings, and the First Amendment. Douglas led the Civil Division's appellate staff for 8 years, defending the policies of both Republican and Democratic administrations. Previously, he served details as an associate counsel to President Clinton, as Deputy Associate Attorney General under Attorney General Janet Reno, and as senior counselor to Attorney General Eric H. Holder, Jr. Upon retirement from his position with the Justice Department, Douglas was handpicked by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for the position of General Counsel of the House of Representatives. Douglas's contributions to the legal community have included serving 2 terms on the D.C. Bar Board of Governors and as a beloved mentor and teacher. At the request of the D.C. Circuit and the D.C. Bar, Douglas has for several decades conducted continuing legal education presentations on effective appellate advocacy. For 15 years, he was an adjunct faculty member at the George Washington University Law School, serving as a visiting professor at Georgetown University Law Center, and lectured at other prominent institutions, including Yale, Harvard, the University of Michigan, the University of California, Berkeley, Fordham University, and American University, as well as the United States Naval Academy. Congratulations to Douglas Leder.
I am so pleased to receive this honor from the DC Bar. I'm happy to join the august group that is keeping alive the memory of B. Rosenberg and her career as a federal public servant. I'm especially pleased because I actually know and work closely with many of the prior recipients, starting with the first one, Bill Bryson, but also Eric Holder, Robert Kopp, Stuart Schiffer, Kathy O'Sullivan, John Cruden, Francine Kerner, Dan Kofsky. These are all people that I work very closely with, and it just shows how the federal government has been able to recruit some of the most intelligent and dedicated and skillful attorneys over the years. I didn't have the opportunity to work with B. Rosenberg because I joined federal service shortly before she retired. But fortunately, a friend of mine at the Justice Department, Marley Dover, with whom I worked for about 40 years, did work with B. Rosenberg, and I was able to talk to Marley about her. Marley considered B. Rosenberg her mentor. And Marley has described that B. Rosenberg was a woman before her time. Marley said one of the main things she learned from B. Rosenberg was how to organize her thinking, how to organize her writing so that she could be most effective in court. She said that B. Rosenberg was just a master at thinking about what kinds of concerns and questions judges would have in court so that the federal attorneys appearing before her could be perfectly prepared. Marley said that B was known as an expert at cutting and pasting, which for those of you who didn't realize it, we actually used to work that way with real scissors. Marley said that B. Rosenberg kept the scissors with a very long blade, and she would actually cut apart drafts and paste them back together on yellow legal pads, and that's how Marley learned to write. I'm also so pleased about this because for me, federal public service has been a calling. It starts with the fact that in my family, A number of my forebears have served this country as citizen soldiers. In times of crisis, they have helped defend this country and its interests. So, for example, my grandfather was a veteran of World War I. My father was a combat veteran of World War II, fought at the Battle of the Bulge. One of my uncles was also a combat veteran who was badly wounded at the horrific Battle of Monte Cassino. Another of my uncles served honorably during that war. Yet another one of my uncles served in the Army as an undercover spy in Berlin during the Cold War. And then one of my first cousins saw heavy combat in Vietnam. So my family is used to serving the United States as I said, citizen soldiers who do their job during a crisis and then go back into civilian life. But in addition, for me, federal public service has been a family matter. My father served a distinguished career as an attorney for the government over a number of decades. He ran the National Labor Relations Board office in San Francisco for many years. One of my uncles was also an attorney with the federal government for years. He served as an administrative law judge. And most importantly, one of my aunts started work with the federal government shortly before World War II. And by the time she retired, she was the highest ranking woman in the entire federal government career service. So she had an amazing career to which she was just fully dedicated. And I saw how proud she and my father and uncle were of their service. In addition, my father-in-law was in public service in a slightly different way. He served the United Nations for several decades. Both of my daughters have been in public service, and one of them is still there. She's a staffer in the United States Senate, and I hope she has a career as interesting and exciting as mine has been. What I want to do now is just end by talking about a phrase that we've all heard, but it's been very important to me and its history. I unfortunately heard Justice Scalia use it once in the Supreme Court during an argument when he used it, I think, the wrong way. He said, "Oh, good enough for government work." Well, actually, the phrase originated in World War II, and it meant exactly the opposite. It was to be pronounced good enough for government work. And what it meant was that the services, the goods, et cetera, being provided were so good that they were good enough for the soldiers like my father, who was in combat with the Nazis, could count on the quality of these goods and services provided by federal government workers. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so proud to get this award today. I also served the DC Bar, which does an amazing job in public service. I served 2 terms as elected onto the board of governors, and that too is an incredibly important way of public service. So I want to thank my family who has supported me throughout my career, and just to say that from the bottom of my heart, I thank the DC Bar so much for giving me this award, which is so meaningful to me. Thank you very much.
The Justice Thurgood Marshall Award recognizes a member of the DC Bar who has shown extraordinary commitment and initiative in pursuing equal justice and opportunity for all Americans. In presenting this award, the DC Bar seeks a strong candidate who has demonstrated exceptional achievement in the pursuit of equal justice in the areas of civil rights, individual liberties, and the public interest, and who has made a significant positive impact on the quality or administration of justice. The 2020 winner of the Justice Thurgood Marshall Award is Katherine Shelley Broderick, a professor and dean emeritus at the University of the District of Columbia, David A. Clark School of Law. Shelley led UDC Law between August 1998 and June 2018, starting as interim dean. She began her academic career at the law school in 1979 as a faculty member, and later served as clinical director and associate dean. During her 20 years as dean, UDC Law secured the highest level of American Bar Association accreditation. Shelley also supervised the law school's 9 legal clinics that serve thousands of low-income DC residents. Among her many other professional accomplishments, Shelley is a founder of the DC Consortium of Legal Services Providers, which aims to expand and improve the delivery of legal services to underserved district residents. She also chairs the District Task Force on Jails and Justice, established to reinvent the local correction system to ensure jail time is only one part of an equitable criminal justice system. She has served on the boards of numerous organizations, including the American Civil Liberties Union of the nation's capital and DC Appleseed Center for Law and Justice. Shelley hosts Sound Advice, a UDC cable TV program that provides information about legal issues that disproportionately affect the district's most vulnerable residents, such as predatory lending, domestic violence, the AIDS crisis, and the city's abuse and neglect system. Congratulations to Katherine Shelley Broderick.
Thank you so much to the DC Bar, and especially to Susie Hoffman and to the prior recipients of the Thurgood Marshall Award who selected me. Receiving this award, named after Justice Thurgood Marshall, means the world to me. In accepting this award, I want to recognize and celebrate 2 extraordinary groups of lawyers with whom I've had the privilege to work and without whom I would have had 0 impact in my life. The first is DC's extraordinary cadre of lawyers, legal services providers, public defenders, civil rights, civil liberties lawyers. Years ago, I argued the case for the highest level of ABA accreditation. And one of the ABA inspectors said, Dean Broderick, your intensity fills the room. Well, as the Irish say, I didn't lick that up off the grass. I learned that from the great lawyers with whom I've gotten to work. They taught me about passion and intensity, and they taught me how to think strategically and how to work collaboratively and to never give up on a righteous cause or on a client in need. So thank you for doing the work on behalf of our most vulnerable neighbors, those who've been left behind and pushed aside by a privileged society. And second, I want to thank the lawyers from Antioch School of Law, DC School of Law, and the UDC David A. Clark School of Law, your tax dollars at work. These lawyers, my merry band, lo these 42 years, no one's ever worked harder to build and sustain an incredible, excellent law school. It's affordable, it's accessible, and it's dedicated to training a deeply diverse body of students for careers as public interest social justice warriors. Thank you for your amazing work. And I want to give a shout out to my worthy successor, Dean Renee Hutchins. Already in her first year, she's already improved the bar passage rate. She's brought on 4 phenomenal new lawyers for the faculty, and they're going to be fantastic for our students, and they're going to make their mark in DC as well. I look forward to you meeting them. I hope all of you listening will think about partnering with your public law school whenever you want to do programs focused on ending poverty and inequality. Come to us. And I hope you'll also think about hiring our students as interns and our alumni in your offices. You will be so glad that you did. Change is happening in powerful and unexpected ways every day. The House of Representatives actually voted for statehood for the District of Columbia. Democracy has never seemed closer. Courts and lawyers have developed a bunch of policies and procedures that have resulted in sharply reducing the number of people we have incarcerated at the DC jail, 30% lower. Finally, we're thinking about avoiding unnecessary incarceration as long as people can safely remain in the community. And peaceful protesters against police brutality have awakened the nation and the world. We have to see and think differently. We have so much work to do, and I look forward to joining arms with you remotely for now to do what it takes to make this a fairer and more just society. In closing, I just want to give a shout out and thank the DC Bar, the most progressive bar, the most generous bar, and the best run bar in the nation. Thanks, everyone. And I want to send all of my love to my wonderful daughter, Isabella, who's watching in Denver, and to my sweetheart, Michael, who's standing at the ready with a quarantini, which I can't wait to celebrate with, to my sister, my brother, my sisters-in-law, all of my nieces and their families, and all of my friends. Your love and support sustain me, and I so appreciate that you give it, notwithstanding my many shortcomings. Thank you and good night.
Congratulations to all of our winners, and thank you for your dedication and commitment to the legal profession. And now to kick off the highlight of the evening, the swearing-in ceremony, please welcome Judge Pamela Harris of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit.
I am delighted to be here today to introduce the new president of the District of Columbia Bar, my very old friend, Jeff Klineberg. If you told any of us back at Yale Law School, where we were friends and students together, that Jeff would someday be president of the DC Bar, I don't think a single one of us would have been at all surprised. Yale is an exciting place to be. We had a lot of fun, but we also had our share of controversy and debate. And through it all, Jeff was a remarkably steadying presence. He was incredibly smart, of course, but there was much more to it than that. Jeff cared deeply about all of the issues we were debating so fiercely, about the law, about the public interest, about the legal profession. But unlike a lot of us, Jeff never got carried away with the righteousness of his own views. He was thoughtful, he was open-minded, and unique among law students, he listened more than he talked. He brought people together, and he made us a better class. And so for me, and for the Yale Law class of 1990, all of this makes perfect sense, and I am so glad that the bar finds itself in such wise and capable hands. Jeff's career since law school has certainly borne out what we saw in him there. Jeff came to law school from Oxford, where he met his wife Ursula, with a master's degree in international relations, a core interest of his. And Jeff always has had a deep-seated commitment to public service. So after clerking, Jeff very naturally found his way to the Department of Justice, where he served as a special assistant to the Deputy Attorney General, Jamie Gorelick. Jeff worked as a government lawyer again in 2013, this time as counselor on international law in the Office of Legal Advisor at the State Department. And I witnessed close up Jeff's belief in law as a source of public good when, together with a handful of other lawyers, we founded the American Constitution Society. And I had the privilege of serving with Jeff on its first board of directors and watching him bring to bear his formidable leadership skills. And of course, Jeff is a proud member of the bar's pro bono task force, where he's focused on enhancing access to justice in the appellate courts. So that's one of the through lines of Jeff's remarkable career, a steadfast commitment to public service and to law in the public interest. But there's another through line as well, equally important, which is that Jeff really loves being a lawyer, in private practice, serving his clients, helping them to solve their problems. Jeff knows deep down the rewards of the private practice of law, and he is really good at it. His reputation as a world-class lawyer is well-deserved. It's no accident that Jeff served for so long on the bar's Legal Ethics Committee and still advises on the rules of professional conduct. Jeff cares deeply about the legal profession and about empowering lawyers to serve their clients with integrity and with excellence. So, as a member of the DC Bar and as a friend, it is my very great pleasure to welcome Jeff Klineberg, the new president of the DC Bar, and to swear him in, Chief Judge Anna Blackburn-Rigsby of the DC Court of Appeals.
Good evening.
Jeff, it's my honor this evening to swear you in as the 49th president of the District of Columbia Bar. I've had the privilege of working with you in your various other leadership positions within the DC Bar, and I want to thank you for all that you have done throughout your legal career, your work within the bar and within the legal community here in the District of Columbia. And I think at this unprecedented time in the history of our bar, the history of our country, and the history of the world, that you are the person to lead the bar at this time. I also want to say a special thank you to Susie Hoffman, who has done a tremendous job this past year as we've confronted the many challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and racial unrest in our country. At this time, Jeff, are you ready to take the oath of office?
I am.
Would you raise your right hand and repeat after me, please? I state your name.
I, Geoffrey Klineberg,
do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly affirm.
That I will faithfully and impartially.
That I will faithfully and impartially.
Execute the duties and responsibilities.
Execute the duties and responsibilities.
Of President of the District of Columbia Bar.
Of President of the District of Columbia Bar.
I promise to perform my responsibilities.
I promise to perform my responsibilities.
In conformity with the rules.
In conformity with the rules.
Of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals.
Of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals.
And the bylaws of the District of Columbia Bar.
And the bylaws of the District of Columbia Bar.
I will support the mission.
I will support the mission.
Of the DC Bar.
Of the DC Bar.
To aid in the administration of justice.
To aid in the administration of justice.
To support the professional development.
To support the professional development.
Of members of the bar.
Of members of the bar.
And I will promote access to justice for all.
And I will promote access to justice for all.
And this I promise.
And this I promise.
Congratulations, Jeff, and thank you, and I look forward to working with you this year during your tenure as president of the DC Bar.
Thank you, Chief Judge.
As I hand over the gavel of leadership to you, Jeff, I recognize that you have been leading the bar long before this gavel pass. Throughout this past year, and particularly during the past 4 months, you have been more of a co-leader than a president-elect. You have been a trusted sounding board and ally during my term. I am grateful for your wisdom, thoughtfulness, and steadfast judgment. I can think of no better person to lead the bar during the challenging days ahead, and am proud to make it official. Congratulations.
Thank you. That was great. First of all, I would like to thank Chief Judge Blackburn Rigsby for being here this evening. We are extremely fortunate in the District of Columbia to have a Chief Judge of our Court of Appeals with such a rare combination of intelligence, dedication, and wisdom. I very much look forward to working with you in the year ahead. And thank you, too, to my dear friend Pam Harris for your very kind words and for your friendship for more than 30 years. Your appointment to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit ranks as one of President Obama's crowning achievements, and I am so grateful that you took the time to be with us this evening. And to Susie Hoffman, our 48th bar president, it's really quite impossible to thank you enough for all that you've done for the bar and for me personally to help get me to this point. As I said at the end of your final board meeting as president, you have set an extraordinarily high standard, and for that I am somewhat less grateful. But your leadership and example will be a steady guide to me throughout the year. I also want to take a moment to thank my friends and colleagues at Kellogg Hansen, my professional home for the past 25 years. I will forever be grateful for the kindness and support I have received from everyone at the firm. And as I embark on the year ahead, I will particularly appreciate your patience and understanding. Finally, I would like to thank my family. My sister and brother-in-law, Kathy and Rick Edmonds, are watching from across the river in Alexandria, and my mother and father, Margaret and Stephen Klineberg, are tuning in this evening from Houston, Texas. To them, I owe pretty much everything, but in particular, how they taught me, by quiet example, how to pursue fulfilling careers while never once losing sight of the absolute primacy of one's family. And to my wife, Ursula Werner, a full-time novelist and part-time lawyer, and our 3 daughters, Julia, Anna, and Emily, I just want to say that in this anniversary year in which we commemorate the power and triumph of women, I am reminded how truly blessed I am to be surrounded by 4 women of such extraordinary talent and strength. I love you beyond measure. So I would like to take the opportunity in the remaining few minutes to talk a little bit about my goals for the year ahead. As we confront the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic fallout, I am committed to ensuring that the bar's resources remain available to assist our members. This includes the Lawyers Assistance Program, which assists lawyers with mental health and substance abuse issues as it helps them cope with the unprecedented stresses of the current crisis. The Legal Ethics Program, which gives confidential advice regarding the applicability of the rules of professional conduct, as it provides targeted guidance to help lawyers understand their ethical duties during this pandemic. And the Practice Management Advisory Service, which offers practical information to lawyers about running and managing a business, as it helps lawyers and small law firms navigate these perilous times. Looking ahead, we will need to prepare for the inevitable crush of demand for pro bono legal services as our courts gradually increase the types and number of cases that they will hear. The need for legal services in such areas as landlord-tenant, domestic relations, benefits, and appeals will likely grow beyond anything we've seen before. The Pro Bono Center's advice and referral clinics have operated remotely since March, but once they open again for in-person services, there is likely to be a huge demand as people need legal help sorting out their lives. As members of the bar, we are obligated under Rule 6.1 of the Rules of Professional Conduct to do what we can to serve those who are unable to pay reasonable attorney's fees or who are otherwise unable to obtain counsel. As I mentioned earlier this evening at the Pro Bono Center's President's Reception, we have an extraordinary culture of pro bono service here in the District of Columbia, and that commitment will be put to the test in the months ahead. Going forward, I would also like to consider how we can take the innovations and inventions we have all collectively developed over the past 4 months and deploy them to make the provision of legal services and the administration of justice in a post-pandemic world more efficient and more fair. To take just one example, because of health concerns, parties have no longer had to wait all day in crowded courthouses for their matters to be called. Instead of having to take a day off of work and arrange for child care, parties have been able to appear efficiently by video conference or by telephone to have matters heard at an appointed time. These and other adaptations offer real opportunities to improve how legal services are delivered. Of course, we must ensure that our enthusiasm for such innovations not allow us to lose sight of the systemic and pervasive inequalities that make access to even the most basic technologies beyond the reach of so many of our fellow citizens. Finding creative ways to provide access to these technologies will be critical, and I look forward to working with our courts to consider how these improvements can be implemented. Finally, I hope to have the opportunity to take a modest step towards expanding access to justice in the District of Columbia. Given my own practice as an appellate lawyer, I would like to build on the great work of my predecessors Esther Lim and Susie Hoffman, who have created and nurtured the Pro Bono Task Force, to develop an effective appellate pro bono program. I like this project because it encapsulates for me the three principal purposes of the DC Bar in a single program. It would enhance access to justice by helping litigants of limited means receive valuable assistance. It would improve the legal system by providing the Court of Appeals with a more thorough and helpful presentation of the issues. And it would empower lawyers to better serve their clients by providing opportunities, particularly for lawyers at the beginning of their careers, to brief and argue cases before our highest court. I hope we can make some real progress in the year ahead to bring such a program to life. So, I thank you for the opportunity you've given me to lead the greatest collection of lawyers in the world. These are challenging times, to be sure. But if we respond to this unique crisis by working together, we can live up to the highest ideals of our profession. Thank you very much. So I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. And with that, I see there is a motion to adjourn and a second. So with that, I hereby declare our annual meeting over.
Before we end the evening, we would like to once again congratulate our award winners for their commitment to the legal community. We would also like to thank our sponsors. Your partnership is truly valued. And don't forget to join us October 20 and 21 for our virtual 2020 conference, 100 Years of the 19th Amendment and Women's Suffrage. The event will bring together luminaries in the areas of voting rights, women's history, and civil justice. I hope all of you will be able to attend this important event. In the timeless words of suffragist Crystal Eastman, now we can begin. Good night and be safe.